And now, don't invest and forget.
Appreciate you tuning in today. We've got an exciting show. My good friend and realtor extraordinaire Michael Hatfield is with RE/MAX, and he covers all of the counties of the Bay Area and has a really good insight into what's going on in the realty world. Michael, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here again, Pat. Thank you so much for having me on.
Michael, we've gone through several months of COVID. Clearly, almost everything has changed. Talk to us about the status of the housing market in the Bay Area.
You know, it's very interesting, and you also know me as one of those glasses half full people. I'm feeling that there's a lot of pent-up energy in the housing markets now. And the reason I say that is the first 3 months of 2020 has decreased in housing inventory or homes available for sale over 2019. So we're low on our inventory. We have very historically low interest rates and mortgages, and so affordability is higher. I think there's a lot of pent-up energy that is in the market now, and once the restrictions are lifted, I'm seeing that we could have a really nice surge.
30-year fixed, what are they, 3.5, 4? What's the general range?
Even less than 3 in some cases for those absolutely best buyers. You know, some people, like our last clients, were making a remark that they have such a low interest rate that they're feeling they're going to build a lot more equity in their home over a period of time by having that super low interest rate.
So I'm sure things have changed when you do get somebody who wants to see that house down the block. Social distancing, what are the rules when you take somebody into a house to view it?
Well, they've changed quite a bit from the beginning of this. When we started out, real estate people were not essential workers and have since become essential workers, but there's a lot of restrictions. The first one is that both the seller and the potential buyer has to have an authorization form. So we have 7 new forms now that are available in order to show a home. Then we can only take one person through unless it's a family of 2 living together. So there's 3 people that can go through a home once they have suited up with a set of gloves and booties and mask.
Inventory of homes nationwide is at an all-time low. So does that make this a buyer's market, a seller's market? If somebody really wants to sell, is this a good time to put their house on the market? Buyers are going to be bidding up prices because the inventory is so low. Who's more favorable, a buyer or a seller?
Well, you know, it's a real interesting time. As we had spoken a few moments ago, the inventory has decreased year over year for the first 3 months of the year. So if the inventory has came down, you would expect that the prices would go up, and they have. However, the interesting point is that the number of transactions or buy-sells that have happened in that same periods of time for the last 3 years has actually went down. And so the transactions have went down. The prices, although, have went up. The houses have went up like 3.8% overall. And the Bay Area is sometime a little bit more in some places.
So normally if you put a bid in a house, you've got to get inspections, then you go through the closing process. We know there's skeleton crews in almost every industry. I suspect the people who process all the closing papers and title companies, banks, there's got to be a fair amount of delays in that last leg of the transaction.
Well, interestingly, we've been closing deals. We can sell a home just the way that we normally can. If you're a buyer, I would jump out there and stay ahead of this demand curve and go at it. And once the restrictions lift, I would be a seller, and that would be the time that I'd put it on the market. But to answer your question more succinctly, the title companies are available. The recorders at the various counties are open. They have had to make modifications, but they still make things happen, as well as the inspectors and the appraisers.
More DocuSign kind of forms as opposed to in-person stuff?
Absolutely, except, of course, for the wet signing at the end that's required by the title company and the escrow company. Those are normally done by a notary that will go to the seller or the buyer's home, suit up with the mask and the protection and authorizations and such, and then take the wet signatures.
By the way, I want to make it abundantly clear, I am not a realtor. We do not sell real estate of any kind. I'm not a licensed realtor, so I want to make that real clear. All right, let's take out your crystal ball. How does the last 6 months of 2020, are you bullish? Assuming we get some V-shaped recovery or U-shaped recovery, there's all kinds of alphabet soup about recoveries. Is it a W? It goes up, it goes back down, it goes up again. Based on whatever recovery we actually experience, what's going to happen to real estate for the last 6 months of 2020?
We have high unemployment on a temporary basis here. A lot of people that are in the know think that's going to come back pretty quickly because people need to have workers in order to do the job. I am bullish on the economy moving forward, and I'm thinking that although we do have people out of work at the moment, there's a lot of people that are working that will realize this is a great time to buy real estate because real estate is a tangible, real asset. It's not something that's going to inflate to where it doesn't have any value. The real estate is going to continue to have value over a period of time. And especially when we add the Stimulus Act, the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, $484 billion supplemental stimulus, and the tools that come with it, I believe it's going to help the economy continue on, and I believe that the housing industry will be what will lead the actual recovery.
So, Michael, 2008 was just 12 years ago. Banks took a really hard stance. They said, if you can't make your mortgage payment, we've got your house. We're taking it back. Today, my sense is they learned from that bad experience. They owned lots of homes that it took them a long time to unload at fire sale prices. This time around, banks seem to be more amenable to deferring payments, all kinds of other forbearance kinds of options. We've got some unemployment numbers that are going to be staggering. I mean, the last number we got is 14.7. I heard they were like 33 million filed for unemployment. In the next 30, 60, 90 days, if these folks cannot continue to hold their head above water and make those mortgage payments, will we see, sadly, folks losing their homes, and then we get a giant collection of inventory at fire sale prices mirroring the 2008 experience, or banks are not going to allow that to happen again?
This is one man's opinion. I think banks have learned a lot from the 2008 experience, and they're not wanting to write off these properties. And if they can keep a good, solid borrower in place, I think they're going to do all they can to make that happen, especially when there's available funds for the bank to maintain itself from the Fed. And now we can't react too much to this temporary condition, and COVID-19 is a temporary condition, whereas before it was more of a permanent condition that was brought about by a housing glut. There was a lot of homes that were being built. There was just a whole lot of inventory. Not so today.
There was a housing financing crisis in '08. This is a medical virus crisis that's going to drive certain industries to weaken and certain ones to strengthen. Michael, thanks so much for coming on today. If you don't want to get in touch with Michael, his website is www.michaelhatfieldhomes.com, or his office number, 925-322-7775. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely my pleasure, sir.